As your Canadian health minister, ending this pandemic is very simple. We all need to get vaccinated against COVID-19, and as the virus mutates, we need to take the boosters as they become available. And because you can still catch and spread the virus, even if you do have the vaccine, you still need to wear a mask, socially distance, and there likely will be more lockdowns in the future. Is there any questions?
So will we ever be going back to normal?
No, we will not. And the more you go along with the recommendations from us at Public Health and the absurd restrictions from our government, then the less likely it is for us to ever go back to normal ever again. So, it's going to get worse. Next question, please.
Yeah, Minister, I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Have we asked the obvious question, do these vaccines work?
Security? Yes. Okay, everyone calm down. The science is settled. Okay, there will be no further explanations for for the public. Okay, we at Health Canada follow the science. And when we say follow the science, we mean obey the directives of a back room full of unelected officials who determine what your freedoms will be week by week. Now, I don't want to lose my massive salary. And just as Barbara, our chief medical officer, said, I just say what they write down for me.
I just say whatever they write down for me.
Okay, so could I get a real question from a real trusted journalist, please? Thank you.
Minister.
Yes, Toronto Star.
Toronto Star here, and I would like to know, what do you do with your hair, Minister? It looks amazing.
Finally, a good question. Thank you for asking. It's all natural, but I do use Liberal Party shampoo. Brought to you by Pfizer, Shoppers, and CBC. Next question, please. Yes, CBC. Well, of course the vaccines work, Minister. But Canadians are curious. Why do we still need to wear a mask? Well, wearing a mask is a sign of compliance. It's a sign that you're on the right side of history. It's a sign that you agree with everything that your government says, like lockdowns work, natural immunity isn't real, Justin Trudeau wearing blackface was a learning experience. It's very important to wear a mask, not for health reasons, but it shows our law enforcement that you are a submissive, compliant, obedient, perfect little slave. I mean, citizen. And moving forward with vaccine passports, that'll be an extension of this, because opting into this program shows that you understand the deep belief to your core that any health problems, societal problems, further inflation, economic despair, suicide, cancer, drug addiction, why you're getting a divorce, is all because of the unvaccinated. And wearing a mask shows that you understand that and that you're on the right team. Next question, please.
But Minister, how are we going to encourage the vaccine hesitant to get the vaccine?
That's a great question. Bribes, social pressure, shaming, humiliation, coercion, emotional manipulation, gaslighting, relentless advertising campaigns, jingles, celebrity endorsements, really anything that works. We have an abusive relationship with the public now, so everything is their fault. If you get sick, it's your fault. If you get hurt from the vaccine, it's your fault.
Love it.
If lockdowns lead to more domestic abuse cases, suicides, loss of jobs, livelihood, and depression, it's your fault. So for the vaccine hesitant, we've moved on to threats. We've threatened to take their jobs and their livelihoods away, taking their freedoms away, obviously, and soon with some legislation, we'll be threatening to take their children away as well. And any resistance or even innocent questions should be met with hostility and more of the same. So, try to be kind, but also don't take no for an answer. Next question, please.
Yeah, Minister. People who have previously had COVID and recovered say that they have natural antibodies, and that's why they don't want to get the vaccine. So what would you say to these people?
Well, I would tell them that health science has changed in 2021. It's no longer about medical history or pre-existing health conditions, exercise, fitness level, diet, sleeping, smoking, and drug habits, blood pressure, or age. None of that matters anymore. See, health is down to 3 items and 3 items only. Are you wearing a mask? Are you vaccinated? Are you listening to everything that we say? That's how we know if you are healthy or not. And with the vaccine passport program, we are excited because if you are considered unhealthy, then we won't have to treat you. And we're excited about that because that's going to free up a lot of hospital beds.
Now that's a leader.
Next question, please.
Wait, Minister, health science has changed? How do you explain this to the public? How does that make any sense?
I mean, if you've been paying attention at all for the past 18 months, none of this makes any sense, does it? I mean, I'm your Canadian health minister, and I haven't once mentioned in this time early treatment for the virus, for which there are a few methods and drugs that do work, or at least some research and evidence show that there is success in preventing a COVID case from being a hospitalization and death. But we haven't mentioned it once. We're supposed to tell you that these drugs are unsafe and they're controversial, and that one's a horse medicine, you crazy nutcase. When in actuality, there's actually more long-term research on this horse medicine being used on humans than there is of these injections or vaccines, as we call them. But just to be clear, our government is actively suppressing these drugs that could be saving lives. Myself and our news media could be talking about these treatments that help prevent a COVID case from going to the hospital and dying, but we're not. Instead, we're actually telling you guys to wear a mask while you have sex. We're telling you to not celebrate Christmas with your family, and we're telling you to not trust your immune system.
So why should we even trust you then?
Honestly, we have no idea why you would at this point. We at the Liberal Party have wondered how we've been able to push so hard so quickly, and Canadians have just taken it. I mean, it makes no sense. We botched our COVID response so hard early on here in Canada, from giving away PPE to China, from having a pandemic response plan approved by top virologists that we just threw out right before this thing. And most importantly, we did nothing to protect the elderly. It was very clear early on in about March 2020 that this virus disproportionately affected older people.
Really?
And we did nothing specifically to protect the elderly. Nothing about old folks' homes, no specific policies about long-term care facilities where the vast majority of Canadian deaths happened. We didn't even ban flights from highly infected areas. I mean, hardly at all, especially not early on. Trudeau said he was, but I mean, he just says, oh, no, blah, 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 and you guys just buy it every time. I mean, it's really quite pathetic.
Minister, so you admit that you've done a bad job?
Well, what do you think? We've made it so an entire generation of kids in Canada will be more likely to be immunocompromised, have underdeveloped social skills, and debilitating anxiety for life. It's great for our lobby groups because we've made an entire generation much more docile, obedient, and dependent on the pharmaceutical industry. So I'm doing my job. My job is for the nation and the citizens to accept our incompetence, okay? To accept the constantly changing rules. 2 more weeks, just 1 more dose, just ban the unvaccinated from society. So we're not only experimenting on children, but we're also experimenting on your mind with our mass media hysteria machine. I mean, you really think it's normal to hear about how many people got sick today and how many cases and how many deaths? Of course not. This isn't good for your mental health. This isn't normal at all, but it's important that we do that and at the same time show up, act professional, and make it seem like this transition into totalitarianism is totally normal. Like it all happened just as you dozed off watching the hockey game. But really, I couldn't care less because I have a massive salary to enjoy. I have a nice home in a nice part of town. The entire media political establishment has my back. So as long as I follow the orders, I couldn't care less.
So, Minister, what does any of this have to do with health and safety? I don't know if it's that funny.
I'm sorry.
Really?
I forget you guys think that.
Oh my God.
This is all about money, okay? When we say trust the science, we mean obey the billionaires, okay? Just follow the money. Look at who's profiting off of these lockdowns. Look at who's profiting off of these vaccines. This isn't hard, you guys. I mean, Doug Ford started this business for the COVID stickers on the floor in grocery stores. Okay, he's making bank on that. And all these other politicians, John Tory, Justin Trudeau, all these health ministers and premiers in each province, they have huge salaries, okay? And they're just telling you to stay home, lose your job, lose your livelihood, and shut up, okay? This whole pandemic just has been a huge operation of the rich getting richer. It's actually a lot like the carbon tax in that sense. I mean, we're forcing everyone to go into the same Costco and Walmart to slow the spread. Does that make any sense? Of course not. We have open liquor stores and beer stores, but we got closed gyms and churches. We're arresting pastors, for Christ's sake. It's all about money and, by extension, submission and control. Okay, it's the same thing around the world, but here in Canada, it's just a little easier because the population is entirely distracted, demoralized, or simply drunk off of cheap white wine or high as shit off government weed. So, yeah. Next question, please.
Minister, how exactly do you expect to get away with this?
Our partnership with the media has allowed us to coach Canadians to never hold public officials accountable or those in power accountable, especially not at a federal level. And this is actually what the States is now doing with Joe Biden and Afghanistan and that whole mess. You know, no matter how terrible things get, we've coached people to believe that it is never the people in power. It's never those who are actually making the decision. It's never their fault. It's always somebody else. You know, we've coached Canadians to blame the opposition, blame the Conservatives, blame Harper, blame Trump, blame the dog, blame your neighbor, blame the black guy, the white guy, blame anyone who's asking questions, blame anyone who is resisting the totalitarian regime, really. The idea is to direct the attention away from us making these terrible decisions and instead focus the attention on anyone questioning us. Focus on them, which is most often regular everyday people who are just trying to make sense of what's going on. But this is exactly what happened with the residential schools as well. You know, it wasn't Pierre Trudeau. It wasn't the Canadian government who's been complicit in this since the founding of our nation. No, it was the Catholic Church down the street. It was the average conservative. It was your racist uncle that did this. Of course, it doesn't make any sense, but it helps us. It helps us always look like the hero in the situation every single time.
Yes, Minister. Are you at all afraid that Canadians will find out what it is you're up to?
No. We have pumped so much fear into the Canadian public through mass media that they will buy anything. The average Canadian, their brain has turned to liquid shit. We've been working with the media to inform, indoctrinate, and scare the f*** out of everyone. And most Canadians have just checked out. You know, we hit them with so much conflicting information. Don't wear a mask, wear a mask. Mix vaccines, don't mix vaccines. They're exhausted. They're fed up. They just want things to go back to normal. And they're so desperate. And with that desperation, they're now putty in our hands. All we have to do is just say, variant, cases, lockdowns, ICU, sit, stay, roll over. It's like training a dog, essentially. And we have them so well trained now that naturally it's time for an election. Last question, please.
Who are you voting for?
Satan Lord Trudeau, Prince of Darkness.
Hail Satan! Hail Trudeau! I'm the chosen one! No!
Vote Liberal.
Shirley? Oh, so brave.
Well, just another good day on the job. I'm still voting for justice.